and welcome back to the DeCesare Group Podcast. I'm your host, Jim DeCesare. Hey, if you're enjoying the podcast, please be sure to tell your friends. You can subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts, and you'll be notified every Monday morning when a new episode drops. We talk a lot about business and economic growth in the community on this podcast, but this week, I'm talking with the senior pastor of the fastest growing church in the area. Gregg Farrell has been part of Crossland Community Church since 2005, 1 year after it opened. The church has 4 locations, including the main campus on the 31W bypass in Bowling Green that underwent a major expansion last year. The other campuses are in Glasgow, Morgantown, and Bowling Green West, a location on Russellville Road that serves the Burmese community. We break down the timeline of Crossland Community Church, how it got to this point despite a global pandemic, the addition of a daycare center, Crossland's involvement in Centers for Hope, and more. And by the way, Gregg recently earned his doctorate at Liberty University. We'll get into all of that. Here's my conversation with Dr. Gregg Farrell. Hey, Gregg, thanks for being on the DeCesare Group Podcast.
Absolutely honored to be here, brother.
I think we're going to have some fun here.
I agree.
Well, first of all, it's good to see you, and congratulations on getting your doctorate.
Man.
That's pretty awesome.
It is. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I'm still pinching myself.
Yeah.
I really am. But it was like that Mount Everest that was in front of you, and it just one of those things I had to climb, and I'm just so thankful I got over the top.
Yeah, well, congratulations.
Thanks,
I
man.
know that's a lot of hard work and time and effort, and, it's not as easy for someone who's got a full-time job and, family and lots of activities going on to get a doctorate in your spare time.
Yeah, it was so worth it. I'd probably do it again, but you're right. It's not for the faint at heart.
Well, anyhow, let's talk about you a little bit. Tell us about you and how you grew up and how you landed at Crossland in 2005.
Jeez. Well, this will be your 3-hour podcast here, my friend.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm born and raised. I'm a Yankee by birth, a Southerner by choice. I was born and raised in Philadelphia, first 21 years there.
South Philadelphia.
That's where I am, man. It's Southwest Philly was my home at 69th and Market in that area. And
so, quick question.
Yeah.
Wit whiz or without?
I'm a without because I like regular cheese. I don't like the cheese whiz that they throw on there. We're old school, but Pat's, a lot of people like the whiz. They brush it right on there, and I prefer, I would order provolone. That way I wouldn't have to worry about the old whiz.
There you go. Okay, I didn't mean to get off track here, but you're from Philly.
It's a big question.
It is. So, so how tell us about your upbringing and how you ended up here in Bowling Green.
Raised by a single mom. I'm the youngest of 4 boys, a mom that had never graduated high school. Dad was a war hero, fought in the Korean War, came home, obviously before I was born, but, came home a very different person, never really was able to reconnect back with society, ended up ending his own life through alcoholism at the age of 43. And so mom, she was a hard-nosed, hard-working, hard-charging woman who raised 4 lunatics.
I can relate. My mom raised 2 lunatics.
Yeah, so amazingly, grew up in the Catholic faith, was a constant churchgoer, got a little sideways there for a number of years, got behaviorally out of control and ended up, with my own addiction like my dad did. But thankfully at 25, the Lord saw kindly enough to step into my world and eradicate that addiction. And been sober for 35 years, which is hard to get my head around too. I moved to Miami in my mid 20s or so, and then on into Orlando, where I would meet my wife Tammy, who is from McLean County, and we married. We've been married over 31 years now, and just slowly kind of moving back towards Kentucky. Ironically, I was in corporate America, corporate sales for a long time, and the last company I was with actually transferred me, from Asheville, North Carolina, where I was, to Nashville, Tennessee market, but we chose to live in Bowling Green. That was 28 years ago, almost 29 this December.
Wow.
And went down to Nashville every day, worked down there every day for about 4 years, and then got a job at Wayne Supply selling Caterpillar equipment.
Yeah.
And loved it. Man, it was one of the greatest group of people to work for, the most honorable company that I had ever been associated with. But then God had been calling me for quite a number of years into the ministry, and a doorway opened for me to serve at Morgantown Community Church in Butler County. And I was there 4 years and Was out in Kingsport, Tennessee for 1 year, literally 52 Sundays. And a group of people who had started Crossland, started without a pastor. My name got sent to them by a couple local residents who knew me from my time at Living Hope and said, there's a guy. And next thing you know, they called, and we came back to Bowling Green and started with a church that was meeting in the back of a beat-up old shopping center, 19 years ago.
And so you're still there.
I'm still there.
But the beat-up shopping center is taking on a new life.
It has. It really, front and back.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about that in a bit. But, that's where it started, and you've grown from there. I mean, how many campuses do you have now?
We have 3 campuses that Crossland meets at, in Morgantown, Glasgow, Bowling Green, and then we have our Bowling Green West campus, which is a facility that we lease, and we allow 2 different Burmese churches use it both on Sunday and throughout the week. We use it for Room in the Inn during the Room in the Inn season, and it's a great facility for that. Right next door to that is the Hope Center. They have a store there, a thrift store now. We took that on. We leased that because we love what they're doing, and we were in the shopping center, and one of our staff people's on the board, and they came to me and said, we're looking to do a thrift store. And I was like, man, so we went and leased it, and moved them in and helped renovate it. And, so we pay all the lease, we pay the electricity and all the bills, and just be like, go on in there and sell what you want. So we got like 11,000 square feet at Rose's Shopping Center over there. And, but 2 other Burmese churches meet on Sunday in our Bowling Green campus as well. So, crazy enough, but it's like, 7 different worship experiences every Sunday under our roofs.
So how many people does that account for?
Man, just Crossland is 2,500. I have no idea. I would say there's at least another 600 that are meeting. They're about an average of 120 to 150, so to speak, at each one of those campuses somewhere right now. Those Burmese churches.
About 3,000 people a week are getting some kind of ministry.
Yeah.
Through the Crossland umbrella.
Right.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's the generosity of our people who get it, who make that possible. For the first 5 years, we wouldn't and didn't charge any of the Burmese churches, but we all understand that we can't stunt their growth. We know, and this is true about church planning. You got to get them as disciplined with their finances as quickly as possible, so they don't get so used to not having to have a building or a rent or anything. It's just not fiscally responsible. Now, I won't tell you publicly what they pay, but it's not much. But it is about creating discipline for them,
right?
And they have to kind of get indoctrinated in some respects to American church culture. Yeah. How they did it outside of America is one way. They will not survive in this nation and in South Central Kentucky if they try to continue to do church the way they did it.
Right.
They won't. And so we believe that we got to lead them, disciple them, and teach them how to really get established.
So from in 2005,
yeah,
how many members did you have? Ballpark.
100. 110. And that was the attendance, so I doubt that all of them were members, but some were right around there, yeah.
So in almost 20 years, you've gone from 100 members to almost 2,500 members.
Correct.
Or 3,000 if you include your outreach projects as well.
Correct.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
But that also says something about what the church is doing. And you all do a lot.
Yeah.
In the community. I mean, you've got a lot of things going on under your roofs. Tell us about those.
We do, and but it's not, we're not interested in busyness, and we're not interested in activity. We're interested in accomplishment, so we've got to stay focused. We say yes a lot, but sometimes we're wise enough now to say no because it just doesn't fit right with what we're doing. It isn't that we don't like it or like the group. Things like Celebrate Recovery. I'm a drug addict. You know what I mean? Who else would love to have Celebrate Recovery? But First Baptist in Hillview do such a great job. Why
reinvent the wheel?
That's it. Why spend your time and energy doing that when we do like a single moms group instead? So there's other things you can be doing. You don't have to, if Living Hope's doing a great job, just let them do it, and that's what we've done. When they did the pregnancy center, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just got on board.
Yeah.
Hey, what are you doing? What can we do to help? And we did that. And so we're now over, we just started today. It's so funny. The Backpack to School program has been huge for us. We started very small, and now it's huge. We'll do 500 kids backpacks just here in Warren County, and then we've got Butler and Barron County. We'll do them, so we'll probably be in the 650, 700 backpacks, and we love that program. It's absolutely spectacular, and we're getting ready to send the letters out today. We get all the names from the school system because that way they vet them. It's already pre-vetted, and it comes through the school resource,
the Family Resource Youth Center. Yeah,
that's it.
Friskies.
That's it, and we know who they are, and we will meet their needs, and then it's pretty much the same families. We'll do Crossland Christmas Give, and we're reaching an audience of people that say the Salvation Army or Hope House's Christmas program doesn't reach. There's not a lot of duplication out there because there's a lot of communication. Yeah. And so we do a lot of that. We were really the first church involved in Room in the Inn when they came up here from Nashville, and we partnered immediately with a bunch. There's no way any one church could do it.
Right.
We've been Room in the Inn for, 10 years, I believe.
Yeah. I think my church has been not quite as long. State Street United Methodist. We have the Room in the Inn as well. And, it's a great program. I mean, it's a wonderful program that helps. And then with the new mental health facility that we're going to get here in this region, that's going to help a whole lot.
Yeah, and Judge Gahagan is going to help a lot too because she really understands it. She understands that there is a pocket of our society that have their criminal cause is mental health.
Right.
And we're not really going to do anybody any good to just keep locking them up. And
you don't want to put people you're mad at in jail.
That's the problem. It's obviously we all understand some people need to be there because they just will not obey the law. Right. But there are mental health people, and that program's going to combine together with what you're talking about to really could be quite distinctive in Warren County. You know. And so, youth and children have been the backbone of what we do too. We have always driven our stake in children and youth. And we put our money where our mouth is. We're in 71 or so thousand square feet at the Bowling Green campus alone, about, 110, 115,000 square feet or more total for all of our campuses, not counting Bowling Green West. That probably put us at 120. Mm-hmm. And, just the Bowling Green campus alone, about 7,000 of that square feet is for adults. 64,000 of it is used for children and youth.
And I didn't realize how big the operation was until the band, played the couples event last year.
That was awesome.
And, it was great fun. Rained. I remember it rained. But I remember getting there, and I'm going if you go behind the shopping center, that's where all the action is.
That's exactly
right. I
was
like, holy cow, look at all this. They got this, that, and the other. And a lot of kids got a playground back there. I mean, just it's amazing what you all are doing. And I think it says something about, we see on the news and we hear that, churches are losing members and, but we're seeing a lot of growth. And there are still a lot of people that believe in God. Mm-hmm. And want to be around people that believe in God. Totally.
And Bowling Green is one of the most committed Christian communities in the Commonwealth. We've got 3 of the largest churches in the Kentucky Baptist Convention are right here with Living Hope, Hillview, and Crossland Community Church, and the 3 of the fastest growing churches, more baptisms every year in Warren County than any other county, more than Louisville, more than Lexington. There's a cooperative spirit amongst the churches here, interdenominationally as well. There's a lot of great respect that we all have for one another, and there's no infighting and backbiting, and everybody's cheering everybody on. And Bowling Green is a model in many ways, I personally think, for how church should be. Is that we all believe in the same Lord Jesus Christ. We just, it's like Coca-Cola. If it's in a 12-ounce can or a 2-liter bottle or a 20-ounce bottle, the container doesn't matter.
Right.
But immediately if you're drinking Pepsi.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know nothing derogatory to the Pepsi people out there. Yeah. It's just a different taste.
Or vice versa. Wait.
Right. But, everybody, for the most part, is got the same contents. They're just doing it in different containers.
Yeah. So, the big part of this podcast is we talk about business and economic development. But having, a place to worship is part of that attraction for business and economic development for a lot of industries and a lot of businesses. And they want to make sure that they have great places to go and worship when they move their industries into town. And I know the phenomenal growth that we've seen not only in Warren County but in South Central Kentucky, that's having an impact, and it's having an impact on the growth of the church. And talk a little bit about how you all have grown over the last few years. I mean, it's you went from 100 to 2,400, but I'm guessing here, I want to say a majority of your growth has probably happened in the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And and it hasn't really been a lot of transfer growth, as far as one church to another. We have, we baptized a lot of people as well. So obviously salvations are happening. We are absolutely, the Church of Jesus Christ will keep a productive workforce. We'll keep a healthier workforce. We'll provide the community people who are more stable emotionally, more stable financially, because the church should teach biblical financial principles, should be teaching generosity, should teach them that you got to love your neighbor as yourself. It isn't all about you, stopping. That's why this is an extraordinarily generous community. Anytime there's a need, man, people just come out of the woodwork with everything to meet the needs. Now, I know the church isn't the only agency that's doing that in this community, but I can tell you that I know it's the primary engine, because we're teaching people exactly not just what Christ said, but how Christ lived. And if we can't live it outside the four walls, then we're not doing anybody any good. And I think that's why we have a really good established school system. I think that's why our homes are doing much better in Warren County. Granted, I'm a big believer that it's the family that makes a community its strongest. In the absence of a healthy family, eventually you'll have no community and no stability. The church is always subservient to the family. The family was God's first idea. The church came along about 4,500 years later. Okay? So we have good, sound, stable family units in this community as well. And of course, part of that's the church helping them together.
Yeah. And I think a great example of what you're talking about is obviously December 11th, 2021. We saw churches in this community rally. And I'm not talking about rally a few days later, really within
hours,
minutes almost.
Yeah. We were at, because we were in the pathway.
Yeah.
It missed us, but the one street back from the shopping center, you go to Nutwood and Magnolia. And I was literally in ICU at Sloan Kettering in New York. As we all know, I've had a long history of a couple of different health crises, and I'm doing great. And as chaplain for the Warren County Sheriff's Office, it was about 3 a.m, and my phone was ringing, and I didn't think to answer it. Finally, I did. It was Sheriff Hightower, and he said, "Man, where are you at?" And I told him, and he gave me some insight and information that I can't share publicly at that moment, and I knew it was bad. And I was on the phone with staff within less than 3 hours of daylight. We were in those streets with chainsaws. We had 300 members show up when we put the call out. Within 3 hours, we invaded. We took our territory. Hillview took theirs. All kinds of organizations. You just find your spot and go. And that's what we did. And we were able to get over to that heavily damaged area over there off of Russellville Road, and we rebuilt half a dozen houses in there, and everybody did everything. But we had to have structural engineers come in before we could get back in the building. We were required to make sure that the roof hadn't been popped up a little bit and that a wall could have collapsed. But it was right in our backyard. It was crazy.
And, we talked with Chief Delaney, and
good man.
Yeah. And had him on the podcast. And one of the things, he became chief of police during the pandemic, and I want to talk about that for a few minutes in just a moment. But I asked him, I said, talk about becoming chief during a pandemic, and then with all the racial unrest that was going on. And he goes, well, I actually got the trifecta. He goes, we had a tornado and all that as well. And, just having everybody come together so quickly and great leadership all the way around. Yeah. I don't know that any other community could have pulled that together that quick.
No, and I have some really, really, really good friends in Mayfield. Dear friends, and as we all know, that was like an atomic bomb.
Yeah. I have a cousin that lived over there, lost her house.
Yeah.
And she was just fortunate to be over at her mother's house. Her
Right.
mother made her come over. She
Smart
didn't want
move.
to. And it was a great move because that house was gone.
But, look at the difference.
Yeah.
Okay, Mayfield's still struggling. Now, I know populations and all that and resources are different, but at the end of the day, and I would even say to people like, Judge Doug Gorman and, Jeff Meisel and people that are in the city and our Mayor Todd Alcott, and they lead by example. And Doug was burning up the phones, and there were resources pouring into this community faster than you can imagine. We had sheriff's departments literally. I was over at the mall for 2 straight days in the pouring rain. I was out there directing traffic for the sheriff's department. I mean, I'm telling you, you could have built a football stadium with all the water we got.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was finally outside. It was walls of it, and I was out there getting soaked in the pouring rain. But who cares?
Yeah.
And nobody wanted
Skin's waterproof.
That's it. Nobody tried to be hero. Nobody tried to, create some, pat me on. Nobody. Everybody just did what was at their feet with all of their heart, and that's this community. It's amazing.
And that's what's so attractive when people are looking to relocate an industry or business here. They look at those things, and people don't realize that those are the things they look at. And also we had a pandemic. I mean, a lot of things have happened in the last 4 or 5 years that have impacted this community, but the community has stood strong.
Yeah,
do it. And I know during the pandemic, churches were closing. I think some churches stayed open, and I think that helped.
Yeah, we eventually did.
Yeah.
We complied with the law. If anybody were to ask me, would we do that again? My answer would be no. I think, you've got to give people an outlet to express their faith. We've proven you can do it clean. We never had an outbreak. We were closed whatever that 9-week period was, and now we were ahead of the curve because we had been live streaming for 10 years at that point. We already had 2 campuses.
You knew how to do it,
and a ridiculous amount of money into broadcast softwares. Your wife would know it's not cheap, but if you're going to do it, you got to do it good, you know. And we had been doing it for 10 years, so it was a blink for us because we were able to, just go. Now, Sunday mornings there was only 11 or 12 of us in there, and I can't tell you how much fun we had because you can be as goofy as you want to be, and they're all, the staff is out there making faces at me as I'm preaching to an empty room, but we had a blast. So we were ahead of the curve. Yeah. But then we were blessed to, we were getting calls from churches in North Carolina, Georgia, Warren County, like, how do you do this? What do you got to do? We're not looking for any pats on the back, but we were able to help a couple churches. We went and bought them computers and computer screens and got them a couple TVs so they could see what they were broadcasting, went in and set them up so that they could stream. And I think everybody, again, it's one of those things, but it was a very interesting time, to be honest with you. And we opened very quickly, and we went to 6 Sunday services to honor the 50% occupancy, 6 feet apart. But we also took advantage of that shutdown to put a plasma air unit on every air conditioning unit we have. And that removes 99% of all viruses, including COVID-19.
That's awesome. I mean, and that's just, that's what it takes. And all these things happening, you have the growth going on, but you mentioned earlier that most of your space is used for children.
Yeah.
Talk about the daycare facility. And I'll tell you, I really didn't know you had a daycare facility. And Amy, when she was doing her research, because she helps prepare a lot of my stuff here, she's going, they've got a daycare.
Well, for the first 17 years of my ministry, I swore we'd never do it. We'd never do it. We'd never do it. During COVID, we knew we had to meet a need. There were so many teachers, and a lot of them were a lot of our members are teachers who had children in the school system. And while the teacher had to be there 5 days a week, their children could only be there 2 or maybe 3 based on their A or B or whatever C schedule. And they had nowhere to put these kids. So what we decided to do, it was not we're going to do daycare. We took kids from birth to high school if they wanted to bring them, and we did it for free. And we hired as many college students and people we could find The entire staff, me included, were going down there helping kids with their homework, getting them on their little, Chromebooks and, having a blast. And we did it for months for free and had a blast. And then when it ended, me and a couple of staff people looked at each other and like, we could probably do daycare. We're pretty good at this, and I thought we've lost our minds. But we learned, so we decided that we would venture into daycare because you saw the need. My gosh, the need is huge, So we took one section of our building, about 8,000 square feet. It cost us a considerable amount of money because it's got to be renovated according to a very different building code and standard.
Oh, yeah.
We had to put all new air conditioning units on the roof because you got to be able to measure the air going into a room and the air coming out of the room, and it's got to meet certain specs for each age and each kid. And that's all good. It should be that way. But the existing equipment couldn't do it. And then we renovated all the rooms and had to put all new fire alarm systems in because they didn't meet the daycare code. The first 12 months, man, it was a hard business to learn. But I give all the credit to, honestly, there's about 4 women. They'd kill me if I mentioned their names, but they...
Oh, good. Say their names.
Yeah, Elisa Stratton, Lindsay Amos, Courtney Taylor. Absolutely unbelievable perseverance. They fought with everything they had. They made it through all the mistakes. They made it through all the inspections. They made it through the first time anything happened. When one kid bit another kid's finger, we're all having a heart attack. And then the parents come in and say, of course, my kid always bites. Oh, my brother, we thought everything was a disaster. And you just get your legs under you. Now we're a couple years in. We've got an extraordinary long waiting list. We're going to do what we can. We'd love to get to a second shift daycare because there's a lot of, especially single moms who could work a great second shift job for a higher percentage of pay if they could only find a place to do it. Mm-hmm. And then our intent would also be to go to the economic community, especially our factories, and say, you know what, if you contribute a small portion to their daycare, we'll open.
Yeah. And workforce issues that we have today, child care is the number one issue.
It is. And we never did it, and don't make a dime. Our first year, we lost $130,000. But our church is into it. It's just a part of our ministry. We lost $130,000, and we don't regret it one bit. And if we lose money every year doing it, then our people have made the decision that these families matter.
Yeah.
And it isn't just Crossland families. We didn't say exclusively, hey, when we opened up registration, we went public. We didn't give any dibs to the people that were already members of the church. It was first come, first serve.
Yeah. But again, having that impact, I mean, it's worth $130,000 to have a positive impact on a child.
Absolutely. And, we've got 80 plus children in there, and we got a lot of parents that are coming in that building every day that need hope and need help. And, we're doing everything we know we can do.
Well, speaking of hope, talk about you mentioned it briefly, the Centers for Hope and how Crossland supports it.
Oh gosh, what a great movement. The counseling center and the life center, I am an unashamedly, unapologetically, staunchly pro-life. I have absolutely no wiggle room in me. I love those who have made other decisions. I will help them put their life back together. If I were going to be at an abortion center, I'd be at the back door, not the front door. I'd be there to catch them on their way out if I couldn't stop them on their way in.
Right.
But I am unapologetically pro-life. I don't think there's an option. I think every life is worth saving and worth living. But, at the end of the day...
And I appreciate the fact that you are unapologetic about it.
Yeah, not a wiggle in me whatsoever. I'm not argumentative about it, but there's no room in there. But, you see a lot of people are anti-abortion. They think they're pro-life.
Yeah.
They're not pro-life.
I get what you're saying.
They're not pro-life because they're not doing anything for the moms who decide to keep the babies.
Right.
You're not showing up. You're not helping. You're not donating. You're not going over to the Centers for Hope store and buying. You're all anti-abortion, and so am I. But I'm more pro-life. What are you doing not to just stop the women from having abortions? What are you doing to help the women who decide to choose life?
Yeah.
And there's nobody rallying. And so if you're listening to this, I'm talking to you. And my email is greg.farrell@me.com. If you want to email me and scream at me, have at it. We'll have a dialogue. If you want to email and say, how can I get involved? Great. I'll turn you on to the leaders of that program. because it isn't just anti-abortion. It's pro-life. You got to support. You got to get your hands dirty. You got to be willing to get down into the trenches to help these people, these women that are at a moment where they're trying to make a crisis decision. And so if you can offer hope and you can offer resources and you can say, listen, you come work at the center, we'll give you a car seat. You come work at the center this number of hours, you get all these clothes, you get diapers. This is like, it isn't welfare. It's not even workfare. It's about helping these women understand their value, their dignity. They're decent human beings. Okay, they made a decision outside the bonds of marriage and got pregnant. What do you want to do, stone them to death or help them?
Let's help them.
That's the key, help them.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's where if you can offer hope to a woman who's very confused about what she's supposed to do next, I think you begin to turn the tide.
And, you know, you and I having a similar background of coming from a single parent home, we understand a little better the struggles,
absolutely,
especially single moms go
right.
through. I mean, if you look over there in the corner, you see
That's
that
Mama.
lady looking at me.
Yeah.
You know, and she passed away in 2006. But you know, you and I wouldn't be the people we are without that woman.
No,
you know,
I couldn't agree
life.
more. Hard charging, hard fighting woman, full of integrity.
And so when you see a single mom or even a single dad,
right,
with the child, it's tough. I mean, most people don't understand how tough it is. And I remember my mom, you know, when we didn't have anything to eat, we ate, she didn't.
Right.
You know, so, and that's, I get where you're coming from.
That's it.
It's about being pro-life.
It is. Exactly. We want to help these people understand that it's not over for you or the child. And even if it is a single mom with already children born and she's not pregnant, go to the Hope Center.
Yeah.
There's hope there for you. It's not just for protecting life, you know, and I think the community as a whole needs to rally around single parents, you know, and integrate them into the community of believers. I have said, and some people misunderstood it, and that's okay, I get it, but I think the single most important thing a single mom can do is to get integrated into a local church. I think the second best thing she can do is serve in a local church, because then she's surrounded by functional adults. And I know a lot of people's like, well, she don't have time to do it. And I would say, I think you don't have time not to do it.
Yeah.
Because then you're around other adults who can be with you and your children. You can have other people speak into your kids' lives. You feel like you're not an isolated
You have someone
leper.
to lean on.
That's it. You know, I remember years watching my mom not go out on a date, not have any friends come over, leaving the house at 6, getting home at 6. It's like, I don't want that for anybody.
Right.
You know, if you can get them integrated into the local community, a body of believers, there's life opportunities there for them and a lot of help.
You know, the one thing that I've picked up on our conversation here is that regardless of your position in life, and you've showed it, and I think others within your church and in our community as a whole, nobody's too good to do the most menial task, whether it's standing in the rain, directing traffic, the pastor of a 2,400 person church, or if you're the county judge executive with a chainsaw, you know, out there cutting trees, or, you know, Joe Lunchbox, you know, doing his or her part. No,
there's no task beneath any human being.
Yeah.
And the lower the task, in fact, in the kingdom of God, the greater the reward.
There you go.
You know.
Dr. Farrell?
Yes, sir.
Thanks for being on the DeCesare Group Podcast.
It's an honor. May God richly bless you. I appreciate everything you're doing, man.
Likewise. Thank you.
You got it, man.
Thanks to Dr. Gregg Farrell, Senior Pastor at Crossland Community Church, for joining us on the DeCesare Group Podcast, and thank you for listening. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on your preferred platform. Leave us a review and share your feedback with us. You can also follow the DeCesare Group across all of our social media platforms, Facebook, X, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And check out our website, DeCesareGroup.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter, Soki Economic Development and Business News. The DeCesare Group Podcast is produced by the DeCesare Group, a full-service public relations and consulting company in South Central Kentucky. Our engineer is Justin Justerson DeCesare, with content contributions from Brooke Mattingly and Amy DeCesare. I'm Jim DeCesare, and join us again next time for the DeCesare Group Podcast.